All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing great. Just continuing along with our conversations here about relationships, dating, those types of things. Yeah, man. So today, I kind of like to think of relationships as like a flowing of water. Right? If you imagine this stream, the relationship is supposed to flow, so it has movement, it evolves, it grows, it expands over time. Like flowing water is healthy water, right? Stagnant is when all the pollution, all the gunk comes along with it. So how do we create a flow, a continuous flow in relationships? And one of the simplest and easiest ways is obviously communication, right? Because communicate helps us to move the relationship along. And what happens without communication, and just time in general, because we grow, we change, we expand, each your own individuals throughout this process. And like I talked about before in one of the videos, relationships are not linear. Move across a 9 to 5, 24-hour type of time, right? They move in a like a DNA That's the normal kind of current of a relationship. So just understanding that is helpful because you realize that hey, sometimes we're just in our own stuff. But what happens, going back to that like flowing river analogy, is that oftentimes like big rocks get stuck in a relationship. They create like this, they jam it up. They create these blocks in the current, blocks within the flow of the relationship. So how do we remove these things? Again, communication is the key. However, empathetic communication, right? Communication that comes from the heart is non-judgmental. Because oftentimes what stops us from communicating is the fear of rejection, the fear of embarrassment, the fear of judgment by the other person. So, one of these things, one of the areas that this comes up is around like sex, right? Because same thing, if you're in a relationship for any period of time, that also needs to evolve. But sometimes we get afraid to communicate the things that we may desire or want to experience or try or whatever, right? But we're afraid to communicate it because we're afraid the other person's going to go, ew, that's gross, or oh, I would never do that, right? And that's understandable. I don't want that, I don't want that judgment. So what are things that we have to offer each other in a relationship, right? We offer each other this non-judgmental, a non-judgmental approach. Meaning that you can communicate with me whatever you desire. That's okay. I have the opportunity then to communicate maybe my agreement or disagreement with it and just explain why, right? So I want to lay out these categories that I found over time to be very helpful. And it's just kind of these five spots that we can communicate about. They're kind of the key, the foundation of a relationship, let's say. Like 5 areas that kind of hold the relationship together in a lot of ways. There's others, but these 5 areas, when communicated, can create more flow within the relationship. And so what I often encourage my clients, the people I work with, you guys listening in, is to talk about these 5 categories and have like a weekly, a monthly, a bi-weekly, whatever, sit down and just kind of like call it like a check-in. Just have your little check-in. All right. And at first maybe it's more frequent. Maybe it's every week. And then after that, it kind of, it spaces itself out. The check-ins become less frequent and just that's natural. But what it does when you have these types of check-ins is it makes communication much easier over a period of time. And that's what we want. We want to be able to just communicate easily, just say, hey, I'm feeling this, or, I've noticed this. Everything okay with you? It just makes it easier to check in and pull that out of each other. Because let's face it, like, no one really wants conflict. And I think that's a lot of what also causes us to avoid communication within the relationship is the fear of conflict. We know, hey, if I go into this space, next thing we know, we're fighting, we're sleeping in different rooms, whatever. So we want to avoid the conflict. But if we learn to communicate without judgment, right? Communicate through our heart. And so that means, again, talked about it in one of the previous videos, to have an empathetic heart, right? To see yourself in the other, right? And just listen from that space, speak from that space, and communicate our feelings, why you feel something, because it's hard to argue against feelings. And we don't use that as a form of manipulation, but just when we say we feel something, it's an emotion. It's something that we feel, right? So we communicate that, hey, I'm feeling this way because of X, Y, and Z, right? So I want to share these 5 topics with you. Um, Drinking on my Minnie Mouse coffee cup this morning. Hey, what you doing? All right, I'm with it. Little Minnie Mouse flavor in the morning. Let's get it going. So let's see. So the 5 categories. Number 1 is the relationship itself. So you sit down with your partner, make sure the space is clear, without interruption, and thinking about the time of day that you're going to do this communication. If it's late at night or something like that, just be aware that maybe you're going to be up later than normal. You both might be a little tired. So find a space and time that you're not going to be interrupted. You're going to have a lot of energy. You're going to be relaxed and calm. And try to do this before things take place, ideally, right? And that's why it's good. Maybe it's every Sunday morning at 10, right? Just theoretically, that you guys do these conversations, or once a month, the first Sunday of every month. So the first one is the relationship itself. So just sit down and have a check-in. How do you feel the relationship is going in general, right? Anything that we should work on, more or less of, is how I like to think of things, right? So rather than like rights and wrongs, good and bads, those are very like, you know, um, concrete, right? Very restricted type of mental frames and emotional frames when we think of rights and wrongs, good and bads. So just think in terms of more or less. Is there anything that you would like to do more of? Anything you would like to do less of? Right. So just check in on the relationship. How's everything going? Right. And it just eases some of that tension, maybe some anxiety that you might both be holding around the relationship itself. Just talk about that. The second one is sex. Right. So, you know, I'm sure if you're in a long-term relationship, or if you have been in one, you can understand that as time evolves and moves on, that you both might want to expand in that area, try some different things, create some new adventure and excitement in the area of sex. However, when was the last time you both actually talked about it, communicated about it? For most people, it's not very often, right? But you both have desires in that area. And what's cool is when you start to communicate about this, is you'll see that you're not alone. Most likely, you're not alone in this, that your partner also has some desires. And so a good way to do that is just check in. All right, sex, how's it going? How is it going? Is there anything that you would like to do more of? Anything you'd like to do less of? Anything new that you would like to experience? And sometimes it feels uncomfortable even to communicate maybe some of our fantasies or desires. So something you can do to kind of ease that tension at first, to just create more, make it easier to talk about these things, is to write them down. So you could do something like, hey, I'm going to write 10 things down that I would like to try or experience. And you write 10 things down, and then we'll trade and we'll read each other's. Right. And so you don't have to like verbalize it necessarily. You read through them and you're like, ooh, that's a cool one. Oh, I like that one. And then you can kind of talk about the ones that stood out from your partner. And it would be cool to see what theirs are, and see that they also have desires and fantasies and so forth. And then there might be someone there that you're just like, man, I am not doing that. That's too much for me. Again, no judgment, right? And so you can just talk about it. That's cool. I don't know if I'm like in that space to try that or whatever. And, um, you know, and so it just, again, no judgment, and it just creates flow. Remember, the whole goal with this is just flow, is currency within the relationship, to create this momentum, this flow, to make things so they're not stuck, stale, and stagnant, right? Make it easier to in the duration of time to talk about these things just on a ongoing basis, let's say, right? So the relationship itself, sex. The next one is finances. Finances is a big part of the relationship. It can be a stressor for a lot of people. It can be a motivator for a lot of people. So just check in with that. And something like, as an example that might come up, is you usually in relationships have one person that's more geared on, or more focused on security, and one person is more focused on freedom. And so your perspectives around finances is going to be much different, right? So as an example, you might, the person who is focused on security might say, hey, as far as finances go, I would like to always have like 1 month worth of expenses in the savings account, right? That makes them feel safe. Okay. And then the other person again, their focus is more on freedom. They might be like, I want to make sure that we're doing X, Y, and Z and going out a little bit more, doing date nights. Both are valid. So this allows you the opportunity to understand each other better, right? And communicate from those spaces. So this person might say, the one who's focused on security might say, I don't feel like going on those types of dates until we have that kind of savings. Oh, that's understandable. So let's make it a goal to get that savings done. And then we can, budget in once a week going on dates. As an example, these are just examples, right? So understanding and communicating about finances creates more current and flow, because that is a hang up within a lot of relationships. Um, the next one is um, career, right? So career and also purpose, passion, kind of those all line up. So what can happen in a relationship is you might have one partner who is, essentially maybe living their dreams. They're working the job they love, or they have the business they love, or the career they love, right? And they're all excited about it. And the other partner is just working a job that pays the bills. There's no passion in it. And, they're just not excited. They're just doing it to pay the bills per se. And so then they can build up resentment because they look at the other person like, man, well, fuck this guy. He's out here living his dreams and doing this. And I'm over here working this shitty job so we can pay our bills. And resentment will build if we don't communicate about the topic. And so this gives you the opportunity to talk with each other, to see how each one of you are doing. How's everything going in your career and your purpose with your passions in life? So you guys both talk about that a little bit. And one thing to note for men especially is we like to put on our, problem solving hats. And oftentimes our partner maybe just wants to express that they're frustrated about something, that things aren't ideal. And then we put on our problem solving hat. And we want to go, well, if you would do this and this and this, and maybe you should do this, then it takes that away from them. They kind of pull back. They feel judged essentially in that aspect of the relationship in their life. So the best thing we can do in this instance during the check-in is just to encourage them. Just go, yeah, I get that. I'm sorry you're going through that. I believe that things are going to get better for you. And I'm here to help if you ever need it, just so you know, in any way possible. And that will be just like a talking point. You guys can work together to help each other, um, create more movement in that area of life as well. So career, purpose, passion, all those types of things. And then the last one is adventure, because we all want to experience adventure, but we experience it in different ways, right? So in your relationship, maybe adventure is just, going out on Friday night, having a good time. Maybe your hobbies are kind of adventurous in general. You like to hike, you like to do, martial arts, whatever it is, something that's already adventurous to you. You feel fulfilled in that area. But for your partner, maybe they like to go on vacations and these, cool experiences in life. And that's just not necessarily of interest to you. So what you can do now is you both can understand each other better, what adventure means to you, and then you can dialogue and communicate about it and see where you can meet in the middle. So, hey, I also enjoy going on these vacations and these experiences. It's just not as much of a priority, but what do you think is reasonable for us, keeping in mind our finances and everything else, to do like every year? Is it twice a year we go, once a quarter, once a year? Is there some things we can do each month that just kind of are simple and affordable, to create that type of adventure? So it, again, allows you guys an opportunity to communicate, to talk to one another, to create flow and movement within the relationship. So again, it's the relationship itself, sex, finances, career/passion, and adventure. Those are your 5 topics you can start with just to communicate. Again, there's other areas, right? But these I've found to be very effective, and they all relationships have aspects of those 5 elements that can, get logged up, jam up that flow, that current within the river. So I hope that helped you guys. I'm just sharing this stuff to keep, to keep flow movement for myself. It feels good to share, right? These are things that have helped me in my life, in my relationship. And these are things that, when you essentially come to a place where you've healed a lot, where you've unpacked something that has really added value to your life, the natural next step is to share it with others. And it's something I do in my coaching practice, some of the online work I do. And now here I'm just hopping on YouTube, getting it out there to whoever finds it, views it one day, sees it now, whatever, that it hopefully will help them as well. So I'm going to do a few more episodes on relationships, and then I'll move on to some other topics. But I would love to hear back from you guys in the comments. Anything that maybe we can talk about, some discussion, some topical areas. And what I've found is, like, in working with so many people over a period of time, is that we have like common things, right? We all think like our suffering, our pain is so individualized, and it is in a way. And also it's also very collective, meaning that others experience or are experiencing the same thing that you are right now, or have experienced it. So just keep that in mind. It's all cool. It all goes. We're allowed to be human. You're allowed to have emotions, and everything doesn't have to be solved. Everything doesn't have to be perfect right now. Let life just be an unfolding process. So sending you all my love. Until next time. Peace.